Tonight, the football world has been left stunned and searching for answers after the death of 21-year-old Billy Vigar, a former Arsenal Academy forward who collapsed after a collision with a concrete wall while trying to keep the ball in play. What began as a routine touchline scramble during a National League system fixture turned into a life-ending injury. Vigar sustained a serious brain injury, was rushed to hospital, placed in an induced coma and underwent surgery in a bid to save him, but he died on Thursday morning. The shock is raw, from teammates and coaches to supporters and the family who only days ago watched a young man play the sport he loved. In a short, heartbroken statement posted by Chichester City, Vigar's family described how the operation offered a hope that, tragically, could not be fulfilled. And they have been left devastated by a loss that feels incomprehensible to anyone who has ever stood on the touchline and cheered a boy chasing a dream. Almost immediately, the death sparked public outcry. A petition titled "A VIGAR'S Law" has already gathered thousands of signatures calling for the removal of brick walls and other hard, immovable structures that stand just a few feet from the touchline on many community grounds. Supporters of the petition argue, with a bluntness born of grief, that these barriers serve no real sporting purpose, yet create an unavoidable hazard. A routine run after a loose ball should not be a life or death gamble. The Professional Footballers Association has previously demanded a full review of safety rules around advertising boards after similar incidents. The memory of Bath City striker Alex Fletcher, forced into early retirement after colliding with a concrete-backed hoarding, is fresh in the minds of players and welfare campaigners. Those earlier warnings now feel painfully prophetic. The Football Association, responding to the wave of anger and sorrow, said it was deeply saddened by Vigar's passing and announced an immediate review focusing on the safety of perimeter walls and boundaries across the National League system. The FA made clear that while the day-to-day responsibility for safety at that level lies with clubs and local authorities, it will work with leagues, clubs and stakeholders to identify where risks can be mitigated and what additional measures might be practical. For families watching this unfold, that announcement will offer a small measure of reassurance. At least someone is looking. But it also raises hard questions about who should have acted sooner and how quickly reforms can be implemented at dozens, perhaps hundreds, of grounds. Pressure is also rising on the FA and on local authorities to move from words to action. Bay Chief Mahita Malango has called for investigations and pointed to a player's expectation not to be put at unnecessary or avoidable risk. That demand pierces to the root of the problem. Football prides itself on bravery, grit, and the love of competition, but bravery should not be a substitute for safe infrastructure. The practical realities are complicated. Many grassroots clubs operate on shoestring budgets, local councils own or manage pitches, and older grounds were built in eras when safety standards were different. Yet the human cost of inaction is now tragically clear. Billy's own story. Entering Arsenal's academy on schoolboy terms at 14, earning a full-time scholarship for 2020-21, going on loan spells and later signing for Hastings before joining Chichester last month, reads like the biography of a promising young player trying to carve out a career. His death during a match reminds everyone that even players with professional backgrounds are not immune to hazards at grassroots level. Tributes from Arsenal and the wider football community have been immediate and heartfelt, and memorials are planned across National League system and Emirates FA Cup fixtures this weekend. As the FA review begins, the debate will shift from sorrow to scrutiny. Will governing bodies mandate the removal of hard barriers, or will they issue guidelines that many clubs struggle to afford? Will advertising owners and local authorities be compelled to redesign layouts, or will change be incremental and painfully slow? The campaigners behind a VIGAR'S Law demand firm, swift action, not only to honour one young life, but to make sure no one else suffers in the same way. For viewers tonight, the clearest imperative is simple and urgent. Watch how the FA frames its review, track whether concrete and brick boundaries are replaced or padded, and listen to the voices of players and families who have called for change. This is more than a policy story. It is a test of football's willingness to protect its own. If the review results only in sympathetic statements, grief will remain. If it leads to concrete changes in how pitches are bordered, whether through removals, relocations, soft barriers, or enforced minimum runoffs, then this tragic moment could force a safety legacy that saves lives. Either way, the death of Billy Vigor has opened a door the game can no longer ignore, and the coming weeks will reveal whether English football chooses to close that door to danger forever.